if I ever get like a super young fan, like sort of under 12, I always put on a record of something like Dream Big, because I think sometimes parents or whoever's around you don't let you dream, you know, and I was very fortunate that my mum was like, work hard enough and something might happen.
Under the water and breathing in.
I started writing songs pretty seriously at like 11 or 12 years old, and I think I started to work out the tones of artists I was liking. I really love like Johnny Cash, I really love Bob Dylan. My parents were into like electronic music, so I didn't actually hear much of that growing up, and then I got introduced to it and I was like, oh, this is subversive. And then I think when I started to find Alanis Morissette, Tori Amos, that was when I started to realize that my own experiences and opinions and things like that I could define. They were my biggest inspirations. They felt unfiltered, uncensored, kind of about a young woman's experience, and that to me was probably the most directly inspiring. I was very lucky. I had a single mum, but she's like incredibly supportive. So I moved to London when I was 16 with her to go to college, Brit School, and just gigged constantly for 2 years, because again, I was sort of under the ethos of you work hard enough and something might happen and I might be able to turn into a career. So, but I knew very early on, when I was like 13, I was like, oh, I want to be a performer, you know, only child of only children. It was kind of destined. I think most songwriters I really particularly feel connected to are ones that are writing themselves out of something, out of a sort of painful experience. And at the time I was writing my first songs, my parents had separated and my mum was in a tricky like relationship that I was sort of bipartisan to. And there was a lot of pain involved in that. And so I found the guitar. It was after the piano. I was sort of dossing about on the piano. But when I found the guitar, that's when I really started to kind of journal the events. And the first song I think I wrote that I felt was the start of my journey and my path was called When You're Alone. And I think it was like, do you think about me when you're alone? That was the sole premise. But a little less poetic than I am now, I hope. But yeah, I think it's just, you know, it's to get me through something, and then it became kind of other people secondary. I think the guitar for me is a tool of songwriting first. It's like sort of two schools of thought, two different people. There's an artist I absolutely adore right now called Madison Cunningham, and she's like, I'd say in the other school, like the way she plays is just like, ugh. She's so incredible. She's like my favorite artist in the world, and she's collaborated. She played guitar on a couple of my things, and I was like I'm not even in the same like ballpark. You're incredible. But for me, yeah, I'm an amateur guitarist, I would say, in the way that my songs and my lyrics, and we're the instrument together instead of that being the lead. But either way, like, it's just a source of fun. So I play with a Taylor, a GC Concert Series Taylor. It is custom. It's a nice size. I loved what St. Vincent did with her brand of guitar. She was sort of talking about it almost being made for her, instead of like, you get these big chunky things, and I really don't like them. I don't like the way they play. So Taylor's I always thought really matched my voice, and then I wanted a white guitar. I sort of, you know, I thought that was kind of cool. I saw Dolly, I saw Johnny Cash had it, so I was like, yeah. So then, yeah, me and my Taylor, that's kind of what we do. I've put a stripe on it. That was for the second record, but it continues. I've honestly used Elixir probably since the beginning of having a guitar. I'm sure it started randomly. As I said, I really started this in the dark. Like, I barely even knew. I had a little Oasis chord book, you know what I mean? I didn't know much. And no one in my family played, but I do remember, obviously, since then, I've refused to sway anywhere else. The best thing for me is Elixir really, it has a long life, and I whack those strings, you know what I mean, pretty hard. And they really do take a good going. The convenience of not having to change the strings before I go on every time, I mean, that would be my worst nightmare. So I think Elixirs are definitely great for that. And honestly, I just flew with them and they've not gone out of tune at all.
I remember you less every day. The